stick to our schedule. If we can get the second presentation. Now this is about the first time we've actually been showing some of our Mars World ideas to a general audience. We've done a lot of presentations with investors and other groups, but let's go back a little bit. Oh, sorry. Trying to get to the beginning. You're seeing the presentation out of order. Okay. Anyway, I'm a co-founder of a company called Mars World Enterprise. Lisa Light is here. She's another co-founder and our chief marketing officer. And we, and our CEO, Louis Stanton, the three of us are the principals of the company, private enterprise company. And we actually own the trademark Mars World, which is kind of remarkable because, you know, there's Disney World, Sea World, Space World. And our goal is to turn that into a global brand. And the reason we're doing this is we are forecasting the value of being associated with Mars to significantly rise over the next decade or so as more and more effort goes into real Mars exploration, manned exploration, and eventually settlement. So we want to build a global brand that stimulates Mars development on the real side, but also on the entertainment Earth-based side. So this powerful global brand is going to become more powerful every day because we are actually, if you think about it, every single day we are literally closer to the day people will land on Mars. It could be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Even the tragedies that will happen will keep Mars in the public awareness. So we think building this brand is going to be pretty good, exciting, it's fun to do, and could be very valuable. And space is interesting, just like I was answering Allison's question. I mean, there's some of the numbers are good. I mean, the Twitter followers for NASA is 16 million. You know, Virgin Galactic does pretty well on getting stuff. Like I mentioned, 14.6 million people go to space facilities. How many people here saw the movie The Martian? Almost everybody. Okay. A great movie, really well done. I've gotten to know Andy Weir, who wrote the book, great guy. And as a blockbuster movie, it was extraordinarily successful. It's now past the $600 million mark in worldwide ticket sales. And what that means is not just for space geeks. It's for people who want to see a good movie. You know, Matt Damon's an A++ star, and Ridley Scott, the director, is well known. But it was just a good movie. And it showed a more general audience interest in Mars. Lisa actually wrote all this. So how amazing would it be to travel to a city of the future on the planet Mars? That's the theme of what we're developing with Mars World. This is an architectural rendering of the Mars World complex for Las Vegas. This fits on a 66-acre site we'd like to buy. And basically, the city of the future on Mars is inside this huge dome. It's 900-foot diameter. An entry transition system, parking structures. And it's about a $1.9 billion project. It's a proposal. And we're going through a series of funding steps to develop it. We may succeed, we may fail. But Las Vegas is a great location for this, and we're getting a lot of support from the Las Vegas hierarchy, the city is going in a direction more and more towards entertainment. So this is one of the entry areas. We want to create a transition from Earth to Mars and from current time to future time. And this is what's called a walk-on experience. This is the vortex. We have a space and time vortex system. It's really cool. When you're inside, there's a certain area you arrive at after all the transitions. It's called the Grand Gallery, and in it you get to see the entire Mars World area laid out in front of you with the resort and spa in the center of an impact crater. The idea is we've built this city in the rim of a round impact crater, and there's a lot of reasons for that, for radiation protection, all that. What I did when I started this project was I spent quite a bit of time designing my concept of a real Martian city. I had spent years of work on that before we started Mars World, working with Jim Cameron on his Mars movie and other people. Buzz Aldrin, I mentioned earlier, we did a lot of Mars planning, mission planning together. So when you're looking through these glass windows out, you see this crater area all around. This is the rim coming around you. These are all windows looking into it and all kind of stuff. And one of the grand experiences would actually be able to put on a lightweight, futuristic spacesuit and take a Mars walk with your friends, both during the daytime and the nighttime. And we think this would be just a real blast. But this is, if you think about it, you've never seen an image like this, most likely, because whenever we think of Mars, it's in the near term with maybe 4 or 5 astronauts, and they're struggling to survive, and they're all dirty, and they're not having fun. Here we want to change the paradigm. Just like I want to change the paradigm on space stations and make a beautiful yacht, here's something we want to do that will engage the interest of the general public. That's our mission, get more people involved. Or you take a private rover tour around. We're going to invent, maybe some of you can help us, low gravity Martian sports. Now, of course, this is on Earth in normal gravity. You got to have harnesses or trampolines or all that. But we want to create, what would Martian sports be like? Throw our minds into the future and say, what would they do? And part of this whole project, a key part, is creating and inventing the Martian culture. Who are these people? Some of them born and raised on Mars, because this is way in the future. Most of them immigrating to Mars. What would their attitudes be? What would they think? What would they care about? And by having a detailed backstory, we're able to create shows and stories and context and background where the public visiting this kind of falls into this invented world and begins to relate to it and care about it. And that's how, like a movie or a TV series, you build an audience, a relationship with them. In our case, we want to build this living, breathing city of the future on Mars. Visiting the Martian caves, the beautiful caves of Mars. We're going to pretend we've sealed off these cave areas with airlocks. You can walk around in your normal clothes. Go to what's called the Dead End Bar and have Martian beer. What is Martian beer? What's Martian food? What's Martian fashion? Body paint, music. Aren't these interesting things to think about in creating this world? The resort, as I said, is in the very center of this crater. There are 3 spokes leading to it. So you walk into these glass spokes and have beautiful views all around of what's happening daytime and nighttime. But one of the interesting things will be meeting the Martians. These are just early concepts. But if some of you probably know the annual event called Burning Man, or most of the people? Okay. Well, imagine Burning Man on Mars. Pretty outrageous people, kind of an art experience, clothing optional, all that kind of stuff. So our Martians in our thinking process are pretty out there. And again, this fits very well in Las Vegas because Las Vegas is a pretty wild place. Only 10% of the 41 million people who go to Las Vegas are 21 years of age or younger. It's an adult audience. Now, we're certainly going to have the Mars Camp and Mars Family Zone and that kind of stuff in Mars World. We've got to do that. But it's really more of an adult audience, which gives us great range in the kind of shows, a little risque, all these kind of fun stuff that we're basically going to do. I mentioned the round impact crater. So this is the round floor plan, ground floor plan. Now remember, this is basically 1,000 foot in diameter, so this is a pretty big guy. Resort and center, those are those spokes. Entry experience, parking, and all that kind of stuff. And that's an architectural cross-section. Some of my architect friends are here, and probably like this. So this is obviously the dome, the resort. All this is the crater floor and wall. And this is the attraction ring where all major shows are in and stuff. From a design standpoint, when you're designing a theme park or a location-based project, typically you have pretty simple buildings so that you save money on construction that goes into the shows and interiors and costumes and so forth. This is a pretty simple building too. Steel frame structure, the dome's manufactured and delivered and assembled. This is the schedule we're looking towards. We raised some seed capital. We're raising $1 million now, and we're going to raise $17 million, then the $1.9 billion. If we keep to our schedule, we probably open Mars World Las Vegas in year 2022. And it's designed for about 7 million annual visitors. Mars World 2 could be in Orlando in the United States, or most likely Mars World 2 and possibly a paralleling development would be in Asia for obvious reasons. But this is a standard real estate development project of a mixed-use project, meaning hotel, casino, shopping, all that kind of stuff. It just happens to be Mars' future theme. It could be Egyptian theme. It could be Roman theme. It could be another theme. But we think the Martian theme will excite a lot of people who want to experience space, know Mars is very exciting, and gives us a huge range to create a huge treasury library of intellectual property. And we've been working on this for years, over 5 years actually. A lot of design work, a lot of architecture, a lot of financial modeling, a ton of financial modeling. Lisa has come up with some brilliant ideas on how to do the branding worldwide. One of the things is, for the Explorer in all of us, that's a great tool we're going to use. We've met a few of these companies, not all of them certainly, but we're sure NASA's going to be involved with us. Boeing, we've discussed this with, Space Adventures, Virgin. We want to get a real good competition between Apple and Samsung for the first iPhone on Mars. It's all symbolic, right? But it's part of these marketing human resource programs. So that's kind of an overview of Mars World. And this is our log line, like no place on Earth. So, this happens to be one of the funnest projects I've ever created or worked on. And I think it's very meaningful because of so many people who get involved. And again, that desire to show, in this case, demonstrate so you can physically experience it, a positive, exciting, healthy view of the future. And we think that that's a very important thing to do. So anyway, that's the presentation tonight. And thank you for listening. We've got 10 minutes. We can have some more discussion or drinking of wine. Sheldon, do you have a question?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One of them is, have you thought of selling the naming rights to this place and get your seed capital that way?
Not yet. Well, we have. We do a whole program of this, but if you do that down the line, you could get maybe $100 million from one of these mega tech corporations as part of their sponsorship program, perhaps a naming right type thing. So we have thought about it. It's a very good point, but you do this later down the line in the sequence of your project, and you get a lot more value for it.
Pardon me, before we continue questioning, our host here asked for very little, but they agree with me that this is the most fascinating group of people they've ever had in this room, and we would just like some remembrance of you. Your name, if you just write your name and maybe your company, and if you RSVP'd by email, never mind putting email, I've got that, but if you didn't, would you please put an email address here?
Sheldon, you had a couple of questions?
Well, the other question was, you presented to those companies that you showed on the screen. What was their response?
We haven't presented to all of them. We haven't talked to Apple.
To any of them?
Oh, well, most of them are space related, so they go, this is great, how can we get involved, how can we help you? We've never, this is, I'm telling you the truth, we've presented to hundreds of different people and dozens of groups. We've never had anyone, and we're waiting for the day that happened, to look at us and say, you guys are absolute jerks, this is a stupid idea or a concept. It just doesn't happen because it's not.
But
Boeing,
when they said they wanted to get involved, did you tell them to write a check?
we are going to. Boeing, for example, has received that's $2 billion. $2 billion from NASA over a number of years for the research, planning, and design of real Mars manned missions. I've seen these designs. They're beautiful. They're really amazing stuff. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and not just the United States. Europe is doing a bunch of stuff on Mars and stuff. And but there's certain sequences that we've laid out and have a lot of advice on. When you deal with certain corporate sponsors, product placement groups, certain levels of financing, and you want to get to a certain stage where something's done or you have some letters of commitment, the $17 million we want to raise, $4 million goes for optioning the land. And that makes you more real in the financial investment community world and stuff. We've met with a number of investment bankers who'd like to get involved. These are people who find it fascinating, an interesting project. I mean, they've done it, been there, done everything, but they have not yet financed a Mars world, right? So it's a sexy, fun project to be directly involved with. Paul?
Okay, so Mars World in Las Vegas, Mars World 2 perhaps in Orlando. I have an idea for the third one.
All right.
Are you ready? Earth World
Earth
on Mars.
All right. Can we trademark that?
I just checked with the U.S. with the trademark office. It's free.
Okay. Well, that's part of this whole thing. It gives you permission to dream, literally, when you're talking about a city of the future. And you never know who's going to come up with an absolutely phenomenal idea we want to incorporate in this. And we need literally thousands of ideas, hundreds and hundreds of people involved in the creative process, eventually thousands of people involved in building this. Another part of this I didn't mention is a real space, large-scale space facility or a lunar base or a Mars city has to be as much of a real biosphere as possible. So you're regenerating your air and cleaning your water and you're basically growing your own food. We're going to make Mars World Las Vegas as self-sufficient and energy efficient and energy productive as possible. And we're going to create an entire biosphere, not a real one, but as close as it makes sense as economically. So this thing's going to be full of trees and plants and flowers. One of the things the Martians are in, and I talk like this because I've been planning the Martian culture, the Martians love butterflies. And they love the large butterflies, both real ones, the Amazon type, and robot butterflies. And they actually fly in swarms and all kinds of do fun stuff. So again, the goal is to create a place that's beautiful, sensual, exciting, but feels real in that context of being in the future on the red planet. That's really a challenging one. And fun is a big part, much bigger than you might think, in the financial world for people to get involved in something, particularly in an early stage. Because they have the money, they can invest here or there. Like I say, we raised well over $250,000 already. But they get involved because this is a fun project. And that's an important part to some people's rationale for investing. Some more questions? Oh, please.
First published blueprints of the Starship Enterprise had no toilets. Are you or somebody checking practicalities like that?
Well, in this kind of location-based entertainment project, you have to have bathrooms, and the building department will deal with is really good in this case because Clark County Building Department handles all these unique facilities in Las Vegas. They're kind of used to unique themes and the casinos and some of the attractions. And, fire exits is a big deal. I mean, I've got people in the center of this big dome. How do we get them out if there's a fire? That's a big deal, so we have to have little tunnels. So the real world practicality of how you build this and get it past the building code and make it safe for people is real. But that's why we hire big engineering companies to be project managers and deal with the building departments and make it safe. You guys have?
I noticed on your picture of the yacht, that the center section of the yacht was red, white, and blue. Are you mindfully looking at something to have sort of like an American identity, or are you looking for something that has more of an international identity or galactic identity in terms of design and color?
I never noticed that.
If you notice it,
My artist
the
is a
red,
very,
white,
very
blue
good
is
artist. He's
ubiquitous.
very good at colors.
You know, red, white, and blue is Russia. Red, white, and blue is France. Red, white, and blue is many countries. It's not just us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there. But I actually had never noticed that. That's very
Just put digital paint on and you can change the color scheme for
It's
whoever's
fun.
Yeah.
Spend his paying for
arriving
it.
next.
Yeah. One of the things I've imagined for the yacht is that the sails are kind of like memory metal, where they can kind of compress or whatever, because the yacht has to dock from the aft part to Yacht Club. That's how you exchange people and supplies, do maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So imagine 20 years from now where our technologies are going to be. We'll have such impressive capabilities that designing something like an orbital super yacht, it's not easy, but it's well within the technological feasibility if you forecast a little ahead. Couple more questions, and it's about 8 o'clock. Armin?
Why do you think it is that 6 out of the 8 space tourists, for lack of a better word, are Americans? And how is that going to? What does that say about where the investment in this area is going to come in the future and the participation of other countries?
Yeah, well, almost all of those guys made their money in technology. And the United States, of course, promotes internet and technology and communication, so it's logical that they did. Space Adventure has a list of about 15 additional people. Space Adventures is the group that booked all the passengers, sold the tickets to fly to space as a private space tourist. And I think more than half of them are from different countries. Most of those are Asian, because wealth is being built up in Asia. The nice thing about space is it's international. I mean, even though we get mad at the Russians, they get really mad at us, we cooperate pretty well, actually, on the space station. And the reason for that is the Russian people are very proud, and they should be, of their space program. So there happens to be certain areas where country, even they're mad in this area, they can cooperate in that area. But I think space is one of those places where it's very international. We're not going to go out as Americans or Russians, whatever. We're going out as humans, humanity, moving outward. Except the Chinese are kind of being jerked at the moment. A couple more questions, then we're all taken care of.
I've just come back from Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and I think this is another place to consider. They're pouring wealth into tourism and
Right.
commerce. They're interested in environment. I think it's a good match.
I agree. In fact, we agree. We've been approached by a number of people recommending, Dubai and all that. Plus, one of the big advantages of Mars World is totally enclosed. And that means you can be in markets that we have a rising economic base, but the weather's not very good. There's reasons why all the outdoor theme parks are in Florida and California. We have 300 plus days of pretty good sunshine. But Abu Dhabi, Dubai, where it gets 125 degrees, you can be inside the dome and it's very nice. And that's a trend in high density location-based entertainment, is to be as much interior as possible because you can have longer operating hours and you can control the environment better and therefore have larger scale visitation.
I'm wondering if you've given much thought beyond the initial opening and implementation of this stuff, because I think of something like Epcot, which I think The Simpsons said is what the people in the 50s thought the 80s was going to look like, and
Right.
we go to it in 2010 now. And as the technology develops and we have a better and better idea of what going to Mars is actually going to be like, how you're going to change Mars World to keep up with those developments.
A very good question, in fact, a very important question. And the design of Mars World has a lot of advantages. You notice that round ring where the attractions and shows are basically, and it sits on the steel pad, that's where the ring is. So we can close down whole attraction areas and keep the main circulation going. And from the outside, tear that stuff out and put a brand new attraction in. We can go beyond the base of where the dome sits and have a much larger attraction. So you have to design in your architectural strategy ways of closing down areas and redoing them. Disney, for example, has a pretty good strategy with the new design they have for Star Wars Land. The main circulation at Disneyland just happily goes along while they close off this area. And from outside the park, they rip out everything and build the new stuff. So that's a design feature you want to incorporate in anything. Even shopping malls are like that. You have access from the exterior to the interior of the stores, basically. But that's just physical. How do we create programs and shows and software, incorporate new technologies that keep this place alive and exciting and futuristic? That is, in fact, the hardest part. The space stuff ain't so hard. It's how do you do the future stuff and make it believable and exciting and stuff that people go, wow. They have to be a zillion wows of people going to Mars World.
And also, John, your design integrates and incorporates digital infrastructure.
It does.
So some of it isn't hard wire, rip it out and do. Some of it's literally a programming issue where you can just switch it out.
Sure, that's absolutely true. And this is going to be populated with a gazillion robots and tons of drones and all kinds of stuff, which simply you get a new class of drones, new class of robots, all kinds of stuff. One last quick thing, we need to close this down, is another advantage of the dome is the inner part of the dome is going to have a coating in it. And on the roof of the resort and the ring around it are projection systems that allow us to create the Martian dayscape and nightscape. And it turns out the Martian sky at night is a lot more interesting than Earth. And the reason for that is Mars is further out in the solar system, so there's less light from the sun, and a very, very thin atmosphere. So you see a zillion more stars, and if you're in alignment, you can see these little glow. That's basically Jupiter or Saturn, and they got two moons going across. But of course, in our scenario, we're going to have a lot of spaceships moving around outside and all kind of thing. So we're going to be able to create an authentic feeling of what it would be like on Mars at nighttime or daytime. What we're actually going to do is cheat a little bit so far and make the day a little brighter. Because on Mars, at the height of the summer, it's kind of like dusk on Earth because you're so far out. So we're going to cheat just a little bit. Don't tell anybody I said that.
What will your day-night cycle be like?
Just pretty well. Well, the real day-night cycle on Mars is 24 hours, 37 minutes. So it's pretty close to Earth. Now it's 2 years for one Mars year. It's 2 years to one Earth year because you're further out. So we get to invent Martian calendars, right? That's going to be an interesting one, right?
Does that mean we only have to Christmas shop every other year?
Yeah. Also, what's great about Mars, if you go there, you're only half the age. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. If you go to Mars, you're half the age and you weigh a lot less, right? There's certain advantages to Mars. All right, everybody, we're going to cut it now. Thank you. Happy to talk with you about anything, but I hope you'll get my main message is that anyone who wants to can be involved in this grand human adventure of humanity moving outward. Your ideas and talents and experience are needed and welcome. And it doesn't matter what profession, it's open to everybody. So join up, get involved, we need you.
I hope you'll all stay. Well, we've got plenty of time. And when you're ready to leave, just go out either of these doors here into the elevators and go downstairs that way.
Yeah.
But,
One quick note, if you need to use the restroom, if you go out that door and go that left, that's the men's room, and down this hallway is the ladies' room. So just so you have that. All right, great.
John.
Oh, you're very welcome.